Dan Illman, Mike Beer for Breeders' Cup Prep Recap. We're going to take a look at the Distaff division, and one of the major players is last year's champion, Idiomatic. She ran so well in the personal ensign 2 starts back. She ran a winning race. She got caught in a speed duel with Randomized, a quality runner, put that horse away, and she just got nailed in the shadow of the wire. Brad Cox shipped her to Keeneland, where she won the Spinster last year on her way to her Breeders' Cup success, and no problems for Idiomatic. She breaks from the inside post, and she shows her usual good early speed.
Like this ride too from Florent Giroux. Dennis didn't really take any prisoners here. Broke from the inside. He knew he was on the best horse. He just goes right up the inside here and really takes charge of this pace, because there are a couple of horses, the 2 horses that are up close to him right now, they're not really just conceding to him. He's just outrunning them around the first turn.
And this 1.125 distance really works well for Idiomatic, getting the front. And Candide was aggressively ridden out of there. I like what Luis Saez tried to do, and that was perhaps take the race to Idiomatic a little bit and at least make her run going into the first turn. But Idiomatic just has too much natural speed. I thought Candide all in all ran well. She's just not in the league of this horse.
I agree with that, Dan. I mean, to me, she just ran the second best race here. And I really appreciate, like you did, I really appreciate what Saez did here. Because if you remember the Spinster last year when Idiomatic won it, she went to the lead. Everybody just sort of took a hold, and they basically conceded the race to her. Saez and Candy did not do that here. They chased her. They tried to go after her. They're going to come again here around the second turn and try to challenge her. And ultimately, they're just not good enough, and they can't quite get to her. And Candy's going to pay the price in here. But she actually runs pretty well, and she runs deceptively well in here.
But Idiomatic is loose through pretty solid fractions, 23-2 for the opening quarter, 23-3 for the second quarter. Got a little bit of a breather through a 24 third quarter. And for a second here, it looks like maybe she's in a little bit of trouble. But here's where she asserts her class, and she sprints on home over Candide. A Colt sat back off of this solid pace, Mike, gets up for second. She's a solid horse, but again, not a grade 1 type in the level of Idiomatic. And this had to be a little bit of a sigh of relief for Brad Cox. I know Brad knew or thought he had the best horse in the personal ensign, but the Molly Pitcher was a race where she had to fight really hard against weaker competition. The Ogden Phipps, she got beat again by Randomized. You have to wonder if Idiomatic was really back to her best form. This race indicates she is a 102 buyer.
I agree with that. I mean, there was that narrative out there, Dan, that maybe she wasn't, quite as good as she had been last year during the championship campaign. And then you go back and you sort of look at her 4 races prior to this, and she's 2 photos away from being undefeated again, and clearly ran the best race in the personal ensign at Saratoga 2 starts back. So we'll see. I mean, this looked like the Idiomatic of old, Dan. Taking no prisoners, running a fast race, totally dominating weaker horses, to be sure, but totally dominating them.
I assume these are the tactics she's going to use in the Breeders' Cup, barring a disastrously poor break. And of course, it's the matchup we've been waiting for. Idiomatic versus Torpedo Anna, both sensational fillies. Who has the edge?
Well, Idiomatic has the edge at this point, just for being the older horse with the speed to maybe just take control right from the start. Not that Torpedo Anna isn't a tactical horse and can't place herself forwardly, but I would give a slight edge to the older horse at this point. Dan, until somebody knocks her off at the Breeders' Cup, she's the champion on the way in, and somebody's got to beat her.
Let's take a closer look at Idiomatic. It's been a really remarkable career for this Juddmonte homebred daughter of Curlin. 12 wins from 17 starts, never off the board, almost $4 million in earnings. And in the Spinster, she earned a co-career best buyer speed figure, as I mentioned, of a 102. She's got big early speed, and now she's going to be facing perhaps the toughest test of her career in Torpedo Anna in the Distaff. Let's take a look at the prices. No surprise, Idiomatic was odds on in here, $2.64 to win. A Colt was second. Candide was third. Idiomatic looking to make it 2 in a row in the Breeders' Cup.